All right, I think we're rolling, ladies and gentlewomen's. It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC. I'm in my truck because this is literally the only quiet place I can find right now. The dogs are cuckoo inside. Let's talk about Emerson knives. This video won't be interesting to everyone. This is mostly for two of my friends. Both of them are named Rob, which is super weird. I've recently had a good friend of mine, Rob Anderson, reach out to me asking about Emersons, and then a new guy named Rob also asking about them. They want content on Emersons. So this video is going to be kind of like the everything you need to know about Emerson's video. We're going to talk about it all. I have a whole bunch of notes here that I took down, all the basics, all of the general questions that I get. Now, I will give a quick disclaimer. I don't work with Emerson or anything. I'm close with them, and I really enjoy their tools, and I, talk with them and stuff, but I don't, literally, I'm not employed by them, so this is just all real-life use, my experiences, stuff like that, and a lot of info from them directly. Let's start with some science-y stuff, shall we? Emerson knives all use 154 cm blade steel. Now, this is not to be mistaken for CPM 154, guys. I cannot emphasize that enough. 154 cm is a great beginner's steel. It has decent edge retention, really good toughness, but it's a little soft. They treat it at 58 for a heat treat over at Emerson, and it's a great forgiving steel. I have a whole bunch of videos on Emerson's. They use a really good heat treat. It's a very forgiving steel, very good for beginners, and the only other steel that they use is S35VN, but that's on their specialty knives, kind of like limited edition, Spec War, kind of just like their fancier stuff. So on a normal production Emerson knife, you will be getting 154 cm. CPM 154 is a completely different steel that is probably twice as tough as 154 cm. So and harder. So 154 cm that Emerson uses is a great steel. They treat it soft on purpose because these knives are made for field use. They're made for our armed forces. They're made for militia. They are made for NASA. And they're supposed to be maintained in the field easily. So they chose 154 cm because it's very forgiving. It's also tough. It has good impact resistance. Very good impact resistance, and they treat it low so that if you're in the field and you have no sharpening stone or sharpening system and you have to use a rock, you can do that. And you can actually do that. You can bring an edge back on an Emerson knife with a rock. Let's see, what else? They use two different types of bushing systems. So on their normal production knives, like this mini A100, you're going to get nylotron washers. They also use bearings on some of them. So the mini sheepdog has bearings, which is a knife that Nicole has that I previously owned. They have a few flipper options that have bearings. They're very nice, very, very smooth. But most of the production knives that you're going to find will have nylotron washers. Now, what is that? The nylotron washers are really neat. So they're going to seem cheap and similar to nylon washers at first glance, but they are basically an aerospace grade silicone impregnated washer. So you've got two washers in there. When you take them out, they're not flimsy, but they have a little bit of flex, and they're gray. And it is literally a nylotron washer impregnated with silicone so that it doesn't need any lube. Meaning you will never have to lubricate your Emerson knife, ever. It actually self-lubricates with use. And tying into that, What helps self-lubricate these knives is the copper-infused grease that Emerson puts on the washers before they put it together and send it to you. So a lot of people will get a fresh Emerson out of the box, they go to open it, and they're like, ooh, you know, it feels a little gritty, it feels a little slow, not even slow rolling, but just slow, and I can feel a little bit of grit. Well, if you were to take your knife apart, there is copper-infused grease to actually kind of open up the pores of those nylotron washers to break in your knife. So it's all there for a purpose. A lot of people just don't like it because it doesn't feel fancy, it doesn't feel fidgety, it doesn't feel fast. So the little grains of copper in that grease help open up the pores of the nylotron washers to get that silicone to start working out from being impregnated, and it creates a very smooth, silky knife over time as long as you break it in. Break-in periods with Emersons are very important. Lockup on a fresh Emerson, let me see if I've got one here. It'll be very early. Generally speaking, it'll be very early. So the liner lock side of the knife is titanium and the other side is steel. So this is titanium here, that is steel on this side, and that is because the titanium should be softer than the blade for toughness purposes, and basically a lot of them come locking up very, very early on purpose so that over time it'll work its way over and have a decent longevity, because it starts so early. So some people don't like that. I don't mind it at all. I have never had to replace a liner on an Emerson yet, and I've had probably a dozen Emersons come through my collection, and I have 4 right now. The lockup has never bothered me. I know some people have had locks fail, and by some, I mean a lot. It seems like some of the locks just give out faster than others, and Emerson will replace the liner lock for you. They have a fantastic warranty. I don't have a ton to say on that subject just because I've never experienced the liner lock fail thing. So, let's see. If you want to lubricate your Emerson, which, as I stated before, you don't have to, but let's say you want to, there are 3 ways that I have personally lubed my Emersons. So if you take the washers out and clean that copper-infused grease off, you can put them back in dry and just have like the straight silicone work its way out. You can use KPL, which is a really great lube for kind of like any knife. I love KPL, knife pivot lube, that is. You can use that. But the best lubrication that I have found for my Emersons, let me back up for 2 seconds. Gunny Glide also works very well for these knives. I kind of like combine KPL and Gunny Glide, even though they're a little different, but they're both like those liquidy lubrications. So KPL, Gunny Glide, both work very, very well. But if you're looking for the ultimate experience from an Emerson, look no further than Chris Reeve fluorinated grease. It is incredible. It makes you feel like your nylotron washer Emerson is on bearings. It's very cool. I experimented with this over the summertime, kind of just to play around, honestly, and I could not believe that it worked so well. This is one of my newest knives, newest builds, so this knife is not broken in at all, and it is just gorgeous action-wise. It feels like it's on bearings with that fluorinated grease. So if you want your Emerson to be extremely smooth and have that kind of like hydraulic but fall shut action, I highly suggest using the Chris Reeve fluorinated grease because it just makes a beautiful, beautiful action. Let's see. All of your Emerson knives will come with G10 scales unless, again, you get one of those S35VN specialty versions. The G10 is the grippiest G10 I have ever used. I am obsessed with it. I love it. Just because I don't have it on any of my knives right now does not mean that I don't like it. I have all these micarta and such scales on because they're just, these need to be tested. I tested this already, but we have to, you know, run some of these other ones through the testing machine over here. So the G10 is extremely grippy. It will rip your pants up. It will also wear in over time, but it is like sandpaper at first. Very, very grippy. Two types of coatings that I've seen from them, or not coatings per se, but finishes. Basically, you've got the, you know, the normal satin finish. They do kind of like a two-tone with a stone-washed flat and a satin bevel, and then you get the black DLC coating. This black coating, from my experience, is extremely tough. Very, very tough. It is kind of like Teflon feeling. It is just very, very durable. It takes a lot to wear it off. I have noticed it does tend to chip as opposed to wear off. But either way, it looks gorgeous as it wears, and it does take a lot to chip it off. Two types of grinds. So all Emersons will come with a chisel edge. However, there are two types of grinds that they do. This is not a good example because it's black and I can't show you. A V grind. So a V grind is where on both sides you have a bevel coming down, right? So both sides, you can see up here it starts, and up here it starts. And then of course we have the chisel edge, which is where the actual edge bevel is only on one side, right? So this is called a V grind chisel edge because it has a V grind, whoop, and then just a chisel edge on one side. However, if you get one of the models like the CQC7, which is that really cool classic Tanto look, that Tanto will only have a grind here on one side. So if you flip a CQC7 over that Tanto one, this entire blade will be flat. It'll just be flat, and then you'll turn it over and you'll have the chisel edge with a grind leading to it. So you have the chisel grind and you have a V grind chisel edge. They're both phenomenal, but if you are looking for more like slicing capability, the V grind chisel edge would be your best bet. The straight chisel edge is just exactly what it implies. It is a chisel. I have had a couple of CQC7s and mini CQC7s, and they are tanks. Let's see. Let's talk about the thumb disc for a moment, shall we? So some Emersons come with, you know, the wave feature here to open it when it comes out of your pocket. This really cool little micro commander actually has a thumb hole, which is fairly rare for Emersons. They never really have something like this. So this is a unique piece in the collection. But generally speaking, your Emerson knife will come to you with a small thumb disc, like on this right here. So this is a stock thumb disc, just a little guy. The pros to the small one is that it doesn't catch on anything really. You know, it's pretty small in diameter. Still able to access it here very easily, but it is a little small, and some people just simply want a larger surface to purchase their thumb on. So a lot of people, including myself, love the gray precision monster thumb discs. They're 25% larger than the stock ones from Emerson, so they're pretty darn big. Huge. So this is from Gray Precision, Pete Gray. Really nice guy. I've worked with him a lot. He is an amazing machinist. He's got all types of cool thumb discs. His two kind of like go-to patterns for milling are the diamond knurling and the rifle knurling. So they're a little different. I do have two. I do have both examples here. So this is the... Is it focusing? This is called rifle knurling. It's just a series of diagonal milling patterns that are straight lines. And then if you need a more aggressive purchase, you can get his diamond knurling. This is not a monster disc, but this is from Pete. So that's just like a series of tiny diamonds all woven together. So if you feel like you would like more purchase, definitely get the diamond. But if you want, if you don't need that, then the rifle is just as beautiful. And these monster discs give you a very easy time opening and closing the knife. However, some people just don't like how much they protrude out on the side. Sometimes that can get in the way of cutting like cardboard boxes and such. I haven't really had an issue with it, but then again, I don't use my Emersons for cutting cardboard boxes generally. Like that, when I grab an Emerson, I'm grabbing it to beat the shit out of it, not to do cardboard boxes usually. So both of the disc sizes have their pros and cons. I would honestly experiment with both. I'm not sure which one you will like more. I like them both equally. I really do. What are Emersons best for? What type of work? Hard use. So Emerson made these knives to just literally be beaten up. He, advocates for using your shit. He advocates for using your knives for tools other than cutting. They are always posting on their Instagram and stuff, pictures of knives that are beaten to shit, stories of knives, prying car doors open and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Ernest really doesn't want you to baby his tools. He created them to be thick and stout and able to kind of take on the world with you wherever you need it, to go. And it is not going to be the best slicer. It is not going to hold an edge, a keen edge for an incredibly long time, but it will be able to help you with your daily tasks, as hard as they are, always, which is really cool. Now, the other very unique thing about Emerson's that is not talked about super often is their warranty and the lack of discrimination that they apply for customizing your knives. So a lot of companies, Benchmade for example, if you modify your knife, customize it on your own, change the scales, anything like that, it technically voids your warranty and they don't want you to do that. But the cool thing is with Emerson knives, even on their site, they actually advocate for you getting different scales. My friend Doug, the Shutter Doug on Instagram, makes a whole bunch of micarta scales for Emerson knives, and he just does it out of like his own little workshop. And he actually was like, I don't want to say hired by Emerson, but he does kind of like work with them for photography, marketing, stuff like that. And they stumbled upon him because he was making aftermarket scales for their knives, and they advocate for that, and they like brought Doug onto the team, which is so cool. So on their website, they state that you are able and allowed to do whatever you want to your Emerson knife. You can take the G10 scales off, and you can put scales on from Emerson. You could also take the G10 scales off and put scales on from a maker like Doug. And it is absolutely not frowned upon. I have a complete rebuild, basically, from a guy named Andrew on Instagram. So this is a po' boy conversion. His name is Andrew. His Instagram name is FastLT1NOS, so like fast light ones, but condensed. He does po' boy conversions. This is absolutely allowed for an Emerson. Same with this. So you can modify them. You can change the scales out. You can take it apart and service it and then put it back together, and none of it will void your warranty. All that they ask is for, ease of purpose. When you do need to send your knife in for warranty, they just want you to take off the aftermarket scales, put it kind of like back to its original version, and then send it into them. And that's all they ask. You're allowed to, put cool scales on and different discs and all kinds of cool hardware, and they just want you to send it back as its original form if it needs, a liner replaced, a blade replaced, anything like that. And they will, resharpen your blade for you. You are able to buy most of the hardware. I almost want to say all of the hardware. Yeah, I think you can buy everything other than like the washers, basically. on the Emerson website. So if you lose a pocket clip screw, a pocket clip, a spacer, a pivot screw, anything, if you lose them, damage them, strip them, you can go on the Emerson site and purchase them for a couple bucks and put your knife back together. And every part of this knife is made in the USA. So even the tiny little Phillips screws, made in the US of A, which is basically unknown other than Emerson. Companies like Benchmade that are American, they do have their hardware imported from China. So the tiny little Torx screws and stuff like that, those are imported from China. With Emerson, every single existence of this knife is American made 100%. You can track it all, which is seriously so respectful. Things that I have done with my Emersons to push them past their limits and watch them not fail, because I've never had an Emerson fail. I have pried, I have drilled, I have hammered an open Emerson down into wood, down into a metal container. I did an entire renovation at a warehouse with this Emerson Mini A100. I have used it as a chipper, a scraper, a literal pry bar for pulling pallets apart, not kidding, pulling staples. I have done almost everything you can imagine with this knife, and it did not fail. They are just so dang tough. Very easy to sharpen because you only have one side of the knife to sharpen. You're only ever going to sharpen this one edge here. Never touch the other side. There's no edge. So you're just gonna sharpen this side and then knock the burr off of the other side very gently. I have videos on that. So crazy easy to sharpen. They are ground edgewise at 28 to 30 degrees for an edge bevel, so way more obtuse than you are used to. This is a thick boy, guys. This is a thick chisel edge, meant for hard use, meant for impact resistance. 28 to 30 degrees, that is probably almost double what you're used to from your normal factory, Benchmade, Spyderco, what have you. Very obtuse, thick, rugged edge. Not for everyone. It might just be too thick for you. Let's see. Before we finish up, let's do some quick misconceptions of the company. So, Ernest started with, hand making these knives in his garage, and eventually he kind of stumbled into the realm of, making knives for the militia. He has made knives for NASA. You can literally see a little picture of an astronaut in a spaceship with a CQC-7 cutting sausage or something. He has made knives for just about everyone you can think of, including mixed martial arts, artists, all types of people, lots of fighting knives, lots of hard use knives. And because they were handmade at the beginning, yes, there were fit and finish flaws for a very long time. They are handmade knives, hand fit and finished, and the good thing about that is you're getting kind of a piece of history. Ernest is doing all of this. His workers are doing this, hand drilled. He's got videos and pictures all over Instagram of hand drilling all of these, hand fitting them. And the fit and finish used to be subpar, and it was for many, many years, and I understand that. And to this day, it has gotten substantially better, but I will tell you right now, I can probably guarantee that you will never get an Emerson where the scales do not override the liners. So I understand that these are custom scales here. These are Taro Tough, but, and it's also getting dark out. The scales, the G10 stock scales, will basically always override the liners. You're probably never going to get them lined up. They all, from my experience, come centered now, which is fabulous, and the action is always superb, but the fit and finish may not be up to your standards if you're looking for a Sebenza level knife, right? So If the scales overriding the liners would bother you, then, you know, here's your bad news for the day. Aside from that, fit and finish has gotten so much better over the years. I have handled some really old Emersons, and the comparison is just wild. They have enlarged some of the parts, like the pivot. The pivot has not really been enlarged, but it has been domed. You have way bigger back spacers now than ever before. Everything is just kind of improved. Like, if you were looking for a time to buy an Emerson, now is the time. They're doing really well. But I will say they still are hand fit and finished. You're just not going to get Sebenza level finishes on any of these. Along with that, I have gotten a good amount of Emersons where the very, very, very tip of the knife is burnt. Just the very tip. Is it acceptable? No. It's not. As much as I love Emerson, burning the tips on your knives, probably not a good idea, but it happens. I see it often. It has never affected anything for me. The burnt tip has never, you know, caused any issues for me with breakage, sharpening, lack of toughness, etc. It's never even bothered the knife. But I did want to make that known that you might have like a brownish orangey tinge on the very tip of your knife, and that means it was burnt during the grinding process. Warranty is phenomenal. Eric, if you're watching this, I use that word now because of you. Like, you are phenomenal, my friend, and I am using that word too. So, warranty, phenomenal. You can send your knife in basically whenever, for whatever, and they will fix it no matter what. And they're very, very quick at getting those knives back out. Customization, we kind of already went over, but you have plenty of customizing options from Emerson. You can get all types of cool parts, all different discs. You can get discs from Great Precision. You can do whatever the fuck you want to the knife, as long as you put it back together in its original state before you send it in for warranty. Should never be a problem. I will finish with this, guys. These knives are not for everyone, and I don't, like, beat myself up for loving this knife, but because I have publicly, posted so many times that I am obsessed with the Mini A100 and it's my favorite work knife, I see people, not necessarily because of me, but I see people swarming for the drops for these, like flies on SHIT. People are obsessed. It was happening before I made the videos, and it's going to happen after. This utilitarian, simple and small design is what everyone wants. And if you're looking for a thin, slicey knife, as cool as this looks, guys, this isn't it. Look at how thick that is, man. They're pretty thick. They're kind of like that pocket pry bar type deal. Very, very similar to a Benchmade 940, but thicker handle-wise and blade-wise. So they're very much the same type of deal here, but the 940 is just insanely longer and thinner. It's so dark out. We're getting glitchy. I'm going to try to wrap this up here, guys. So, very much a sharpened pocket pry bar. I haven't really had anyone reach out saying, like, hey, I bought an Emerson Mini A100 because you were, like, raving about it and it's not for me. I haven't necessarily seen anyone do that. I've noticed that people just generally are happier when they get customized. So if you can buy thinner micarta or TerraTough scales and put a different thumb stud on, it just seems like that is the trend. I very rarely see stock Emersons floating around on Instagram or YouTube anymore. It seems like people only like them if they're modified to be a little thinner, a little more, like, pretty maybe. And then people really, really love them and stick with them. But a lot of people seem to get them in hand with the stock scales and such and are maybe a little confused as to what the hype is. So, just beware of that. You know, be aware of that, I should say. There are plenty of fabulous scales out there from the Shutter Dug if you need something thinner and less grippy. this knife will be amazing for hard use, amazing for a worker. If you are just cutting cardboard boxes and stuff, you may appreciate the simplistic design, the iconic design, the hype. You may appreciate all that and really love it. Or you may get it and be like, ugh, what the heck? I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. These tap in at $198, I believe, plus $25 shipping with UPS. So you're going to be paying, approximately $230 for it shipped to your door. Some people think that's overpriced. I don't think it's bad at all. They are never available unless they do a drop. You can only get them, any Emerson knives, through the Emerson website. That's the only place they sell through. They had to pull from all their distributors. They do not have enough workers since COVID, so you can only get them through the Emerson website. And if you want one of the rare models that get sold out quickly, like the Mini A100, you'll just have to sign up for the email notification for when it's in stock. So just go to the model on the website, click the notify me when this is in stock thing, put your email in, and you'll get a notification when they drop, which is approximately 3 to 4 times a year. Anything else? I think there was a lot of info to pack in. It is getting extremely dark here. I think I should go back inside. If I didn't cover anything, guys, please let me know down in the comments, and I will try to, direct you to another video that I have, or if I've just never answered it, I will maybe make you your own personal video. But, yeah, hopefully you guys are able to get on the next drop. They really are incredible knives. If you use your knives at all, you probably will enjoy it. It's just those few people that, just don't do anything other than package opening and cardboard cutting that may be a little confused about the hype, and maybe they want to like it because of the hype, and then they get it in hand and they're like, I'm not so sure about this. So I hope you guys will enjoy it. The Emerson Mini A100 is my favorite work knife of all time. My favorite EDC folding work knife for hard use of all time. I think that's it, guys. Go use your shit. Go buy an Emerson Mini A100 when they drop, which I believe is soon. And I will see you on the next video. I'm feeling like I'm forgetting something. Tooth edges are best on these. I forgot to say that. I have polished edges on these, but they're kind of toothy. But I will say a coarse DMT edge on these, fabulous for working. Okay, really, go use your shit now. Go use your shit, okay? I need to leave. Goodbye. I love you. See you next time.